He's going to be at the Orlando Improv, a show tonight, a show tomorrow. Get your tickets before they sell out.
Because, the improvorlando.com. They will sell out.
Yeah, and
anybody that comes, shows. It almost feels like because we had Carlos Miller in here, and his tickets super fast, and I know you guys work together.
Yes, we do.
And I expect a lot of the same. So the Wild and Out fans, they come in hard.
Yeah,
they buy all the tickets.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, Chico Bean is in studio with us.
Yes, I am.
How's it going?
It's going good, man. I feel very at home. Like, it's very unusual for me to be amongst my white counterparts on a couch like this and just, you know what I mean, freely. They was offering me drinks and just, I feel they made me feel like I was at home.
Chico,
it's not a trap, man.
It's just like a Jordan Peele movie.
That's what I'm saying.
And then we're going to cry whether we steal your bodies.
He doesn't want the tea.
No, I don't believe that. This is the part of America that people need to see. All of the separation that we have is not. This is beautiful right here. I love this, man. You guys are awesome.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We even had Samantha wipe the doo-doo out the toilet before
That's
you got
true.
here. Somebody, don't laugh, Butler, because I think it was you. Somebody in here, sans me and Samantha, somebody in here shit that place up.
Wow.
And I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
Don't get to the bottom of the shit. Yeah. That's going to be bad for your clothing.
Heads will roll.
I got embarrassed because Butler's like, I just blew up the bathroom. And
what he just did?
And Chico's limo driver just went in there.
Oh, brother.
We'll get you a ride home. He's dead. That man's dead. We'll get you a ride home.
You had to strike a match.
Who was that?
Just
lit a match. Who was that? Who was that man?
Don't worry about it. Just be glad he struck a match and not struck the person.
Okay.
Yeah, he struck a match and didn't strike the person who took a shit. So that's really a good guy sitting out there.
So, Chico, how speaking of Wild and Out, a lot of people know you from that show.
Yes,
How'd
sir.
you get involved with that show to begin with?
Well, actually, I auditioned to be on the show, but a friend of mine that I went to college with worked with Nick Cannon. And probably about 2 years prior to him bringing Wild and Out back, he did a Fresh Faces, a comedy show up in New York at Gotham Comedy Club. And I got the opportunity through knowing her to go up and perform. And, you know, he was a fan of my performance. And then fast forward, about 2 years later, he brought the show back. And he had a radio show that he was doing at the time. And I live in North Carolina. I'm from Washington, D.C., but I live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That's where I went to college. And he ended up having an audition in Charlotte for radio promo because he was, you know, in that market.
Yeah.
So I went to the audition in Charlotte and did well, and then had to go up to New York and audition up in New York for the, you know, which was the real audition. And, you know, just make a long story short, I was able to get on through auditioning.
What's the audition process like for that show?
Well, it's changed because, you know, just the dynamic of comedy has changed and how people consume it has changed. But when I came in, we had to play the games. You know, it was a room full of, you know, executives, you know, good white people like yourself. And Nick, you know what I mean?
You know, the more you say that, it's not going to make us better.
No. You guys
We're
are awesome.
horrible white devil.
No, you're not. You're not. You're far from it. First of all, you got people who clean shit up around here. And she produces.
That was for me. That wasn't even for them. Because I didn't want to have to go in there and see that shit every time I walked in there.
Either way, you're the real winner here. I just want to let you know. Fuck these guys. You are the champion.
All right.
But yeah, we played the games, and then, you know, if you're a stand-up comedian, they allowed you to do stand-up to kind of warm up, just to get a feel of, you know, what type of funny you had. And, you know, it was we played, like, a couple of the games we played during the audition was Talking Spit, and they had the Wild Style. They said, like, well, if Kevin Hart was in front of you or something, what would you say to him to, you know, make him, you know, lose the battle and all of that. So it was cool.
Do they bring in, like, it's weird when they do auditions. To me, I've never been a part of one, but it's seeming like they're putting you outside of your element and not even in a realistic scenario, because you're doing this stuff and in front of, like you said, a bunch of like stuffy white people in suits, like, you know, making the decisions, and there's no like crowd to work off of. And like, I'm sure in your experience, you're like used to working off a live crowd, and then so all of a sudden you're like, hey, do what you do, but do it in front of like 5
people just staring at you. Yeah,
people in suits just staring at you. Like, is that bizarre?
It is, but that's the, I think I like to equate that to a part of the process. It's just no different than any process you go through. I'm sure you guys, when you first started doing what you're doing here, you had to go through a process of kind of getting people to recognize that you're able to do whatever it is that you're able to do. And this kind of just translates into that capacity with the random white people. Those are the people who make the decision to put you in front of the people who are going to determine whether or not you're a star.
Gotcha.
And that's just a part of the process. So it is unusual because you can be in front of people and do material that has worked in front of your peers or in front of people who identify with whatever it is content that you're presenting, but you have to make sure that you present it in a way that is universally funny. So that's kind of the challenge, but it for me it was fun. You know what I mean?
And do the people laugh, or can you gauge if you're doing?
Yes,
I was interested to see if they had a reaction.
Or do they
yes,
just sit there stiff?
Like, we just did something really, really cool this past season, and we just got renewed for another 90 episodes or something like that. Yeah, Nick is amazing. But
that guy doesn't like to work, does he?
Yeah, he loves to work.
Holy shit, Nick Cannon. He's everywhere.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, And
you know what? I don't care what anybody says about his new hair. I like it.
What new hair?
The new hair he had. When he had he grew it out, right?
Oh yeah, well that's
I like that hair.
Yeah, that's just rich problems. You're just trying to figure out some shit to do that's new. But yeah, you can gauge it, because for me, I know that a lot of my, comedy comes from improvisational stuff anyway, like in the moment.
Yeah.
So I just played off of the fact that I was in a room with, random white people staring at me, expecting me to make them laugh. You know what I mean? Which ended up, showing that I had the ability to be, quick on my feet and do improv, which the show was based around. So for people who aren't as good at doing that, it might be a little challenging for them in that space. But once you get into the beauty about Wildin' Out is it's a team sport, kind of. It's kind of like
You're not alone up there.
You're not alone. So you have people that you can bounce stuff off. So if you can make it past that small process of being in front of that kind of list of people who make the decision, and you can get involved with us, then we'll make it work.
Gotcha. So it's almost specifically done to show who is going to step up and then morph what they're doing to this scenario, which is bizarre, and then work off of this scenario. So it's almost testing your improv skills.
Yes,
at that
that's
point.
basically what it is. It's just like I said, now mind you, the audition process has changed, because when I came in 2013. Social media was big, but it was nowhere near as big as it is now.
We say that. We talk about that all the time.
And it's bizarre because you say 2013, you're like, that was yesterday. But you're like, oh, no, it wasn't.
It wasn't, right.
It was like 6 years ago, It's like, so, and a lot has changed. Technology has doubled.
In that 6 years. So it's like the audition process has changed in regards to, them being able to see people, because just the reach has been, there's been shrunk in regards to people being able to be seen. And, a lot of people who may not have been good at auditioning have such a big following that they might be able to kind of surpass that process and kind of come straight into the, the mold of what it is that we do and learn on the fly. So it makes it a little bit easier for them not having to go through that process than to just be able to come in and whatever skill set they have, we work off it immediately within the, scope of what we do in the show.
You bring up an interesting point, because you're right. It's like as society and entertainment morphs into what it is now, which is bizarre. And there are a lot of executives, I'm sure, that want to take, not take advantage, but I guess get these social media influencers, and I was a part of a show and stuff, because if they have millions of followers, they have their own marketing giant that they could promote.
You're going to get the eyes, but do they have the chops? Do they have the reps?
But that's the thing.
Is it up to you to help?
It's hard to determine that at this stage, because the way comedy is consumed has changed as well. Like, I look at just the demographic that Wildin' Out appeals to. I mean, it's broad. I have children that are 4 years old to older people coming up to me that watch the show or recognize the show. But I know that the way that people consume anything now is between 15 and 60 seconds. That's pretty much the attention span of most human beings now. 15 to 60 seconds is how long you have to, entertain somebody. So even if they didn't have the chops in the old school style of being able to get on stage and just riff for 20, 30 minutes straight, they don't have to do that because the attention span doesn't even require for you to have that skill set anymore like that. If you can,
no one's ever said that coming in here.
That's
No one's ever said that. We hear a lot, especially from old timers.
Scary.
And I'm not throwing any shade at all. I'm just saying from the old timers we get in here that are pissed that you have these new social media influencers that come in and they're making a name for themselves that, they might even be at the Improv. I've never heard anybody say that, but the way that we consume has changed too. Normally they're stuck on the way that it's
Can you get up there for an hour and entertain people? Well,
exactly.
You don't need to anymore. Now it's like, really, can you do 3
I've
minutes?
Never thought about that.
No, you really do. But the thing about it is, me being. I think I started in 2008 when I graduated college. I started doing comedy. And I think that right around that time was the last wave of guys who started on stage. Nobody else will start on stage. Everybody starts on the phone now. But
that's so crazy.
But the reality of, in my mind, what you just said, that you don't have to be funny on stage. You do have to be funny on stage, because one thing about comedy that I always appreciate is that the live show and people wanting to see live shows will always be a necessity, because people are going to want to see you live based no matter what it is that you do. But in regards to being able to get to a point where you can garner a crowd of people, that's the part that has changed, because people can consume whatever it is that you do in 15 to 60 seconds, and then you can get them to come sit down and watch you perform for an hour. Now, whether or not you're good in that space is going to be up to how hard you work or whatever it is that you do. But just being able to get a crowd of people. I had a conversation with a guy that has been doing comedy for a very long time, and has had a successful career in what I would assume. And he said something to me that really made, sense about the way that things have changed. He said, I have guys, I've been doing this damn near 30 years, but it's a guy that started 6 months ago that's getting paid more to do comedy than I am. But the way he made himself understand it is that I've been here for 30 years. A lot of these people aren't going to be here that long because it's a microwave society. Everything moves so quick. You think about how many, since the time that I said 2013, how many celebrities have came and gone, celebrities, quote unquote, have came and gone since then. So the talent will always trump the quickness of being able to get in front of people. But as far as you being able to just make a quick pocket of money or being able to get people to pay attention to you is much easier now than it was.
You're right.
20,
man, you're fucking just dropping knowledge on us today. I love it, because we overanalyze this stuff. I mean, being in that podcast are how we make our nut, even more so than the radio show. I mean, our podcast is our main business. It's cool to see somebody come here and say that. I would have never thought, whoever you're talking about that had this 30-year career, to talk about that. He's going to get paid more now, but he may not have the longevity that I have. I would have never thought about that.
And for me, I'm
also a very negative person, so of course I would never think about that.
I understand that. But for me, I just try to keep myself in a position of understanding in regards to what it is that I do, to basically knowing that the success, I never get trapped in the superstardom of the moment, or I never get trapped in paying attention to what everybody thinks you're supposed to have, because to me, I always, my mind works a little different in regards to, putting things in perspective. I look at what my career is right now and think that if somebody would have set me down in 2009, a year in, and explained my career to me now, I wouldn't have fucking believed them. So the fact that I'm living in it now, I should have no negative thoughts about what it is that I'm doing.
You're right.
Because if somebody would have explained it to me when I was trying to get to this point, it would have been unbelievable. And that's the way that you try to, in my mind, that you keep yourself from feeling like, oh, I need to be doing more. I'm not, and it's so much to get caught up in now, because, we live in a time where you can express your opinion privately and publicly at the same exact time. Somebody can be like, man, fuck both of you guys, you shitty motherfuckers, making a good white girl clean up shit stains out of a toilet. You guys are assholes. And then you go to see who it is, and it's a private page with no picture on it. So this person, you have no way to even gauge if this is even a real person.
It could be a bot at this point.
But the way that it makes you feel is real. You know what I mean? So the way that I try to make myself understand about just doing this as a career in this time is that what's real is always real. Like, outside is always going to be outside. But you having to understand that we live in a time now where the internet has kind of shaped the way the world works. You have to navigate within that, but as long as you know you can plug out of the matrix whenever you choose to, then you'll be good.
Well, Chico, speaking of the internet,
I'm so glad you came in today. You're making me feel better about my life.
I got so many questions.
I know you do a podcast. I know you do stand-up. I know you do improv. Do you do inspirational speaking? Throw it on the list.
I should.
Because this is making a lot of sense to me. And I'm a hard motherfucker to get through to. I am bad person.
But no, you think about, like you said, you guys, I don't want to put your business out there, but I'm sure you guys have already. You said you guys have done something you did something for 15 and 10 years.
Yeah, we did terrestrial radio for that long. All of our listeners know, and we're some bitter motherfuckers.
For 10 and 15 years, you guys did something and were able to, garner the experience to be able
hone
to
the craft. It's reps.
Yeah,
Everything's reps.
It's lifting weights. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like, I just, it's so much negativity to get caught up in this industry and doing this as entertainment, because I always thought that, I just coming from my background, I know that whatever level you get to, it doesn't really do anything but just give you a better view of the shit that you can get to next. So the pressure of getting to the next thing never stops. So you got to kind of understand that in the moment you have to appreciate each piece of whatever it is that you have, to not be bitter and angry about your career, because what you gonna do? Fucking jump off a bridge?
Of course.
No.
And you'll always be working towards the next thing, and then you die. So you might as well appreciate the journey.
You're going there. That's the reality. You're never going to, if you are a person that has aspiration, your aspiration never stops. You know what I mean? You're always gonna want to do something more. So what are you living for? You living for the moment, or you living for to be able to say, I want to do this forever? I want to look up in 15 years and still be able to come and sit in front of you guys and talk about me being paid to do shows.
Exactly.
I don't care about the fact that I'm not making the most money that I can be making right now at this moment, because everybody feels like you're supposed to be getting every cent. But it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Tell me something, because we've, like I said earlier, we had Carlos in here, we've had you in here. You guys have pretty similar mindsets about this sort of thing. Is that something that, like, on the set of Wildin' Out, like when people are there, I mean, are most of the comedians that are there, do they share sort of this same sort of idea? Because it seems like there's a lot of, like, and I don't even like labeling it as positivity. I like labeling it as, like, practical, real. Like, this to me is very practical shit that anyone could listen to and apply.
Right.
Like, I am inspired right now. Like, truly, like, hearing you say that, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to this interview again to get inspired again.
Well, that's cool.
But it seems like Carlos had it, you have it. It seems like there's like-minded kind of like, hey, we're gonna grind, but we're not gonna grind to the point where we're gonna destroy.
Right.
It's gonna end up being counterproductive, or spinning the wheels, or stripping the nut. Like, how do you do that?
Well, I know that, me and Carlos are extremely, all of us are, close, like me, Carlos, DC, Emmanuel, those guys, that conceded, those type of guys that came in when we came in. But I know me and Lo specifically, like, we have a lot of, conversation, just building conversation. Like, we bounce, you kind of like detox with somebody who has the same level of understanding as you. And that's my brother. So we learn from each other. We work together, and everything that we've ever done has been genuine. A lot of people are fans of, the old school thing that we do on set. A lot of people don't know that, that was just something that just came organically. You know what I mean? He just was like, hey, bro, I bet you don't want to do this. I'm like, bet. So just that type of energy, you can't deny, that type of energy when the universe puts you in contact with somebody where you can just mesh and work with. So just bouncing ideas off of each other helps understand some of the confusion that I may have about a situation that he may be versed in, and vice versa. So just not being afraid to share that information with your counterpart, because everybody out here is in competition. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to be the number one person and wants to be the winner and wants to be the next Kevin Hart. But I don't want to be the next Kevin Hart. I want to be the first Chico Bean. I can care less about what anybody else is doing other than what I'm doing. And when you're able to bounce that type of energy and information off somebody, it helps you understand that, okay, no matter what it is that the world may make me feel in moments, we all have moments of doubt. You know what I'm saying? We all have those moments like, fuck, I never questioned whether or not I was doing the right thing. I always questioned whether or not I was doing it the right way. But the reality of it is, you really can't, if you're in this situation, like looking at you two guys, you guys got like a a renovated Section 8 house. Like this used to be where the projects was, and this what it looked like when they rebuild it. And you guys, but it's yours.
Well,
so
technically we're Tom and Dan, but they're the real Tom and Dan. They come in here at 3.
They couldn't be here today.
They are the rich ones.
Yeah.
We're the interns. Did the limo driver tell you? I'm joking.
I was about to say,
he does.
This is not even recording. We just wanted to talk to a cool guy.
We're doing it. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, I look at this as success. You know what I mean? Because you can't fake this. You can't, you know what I mean? It's impossible for you to be able to, imagine yourself doing this without putting the work in. So you've done everything necessary to be in a position of success. And once you recognize that, it's kind of like whatever you emit out into the world will come back to you. Sure. So if you're just sitting around and fuck this shit, man, goddamn, I should be fucking whoever.
I say it every night, G. I'm like, Corolla's got Ferraris in the studio. Rogan, he got that goddamn fleshlight money.
But that's the thing, you can't do that. Like, I mean, you could do whatever you want to do, but I just choose not to do that because, maybe it's because, I come from humble beginnings and everything that I've ever had, I've had to get myself.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me I'm not winning. You know what I mean? I don't care what the society or the world says.
You're touring, getting people to purchase tickets to come see you, and you make them laugh. That's
right.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
and
you're
this
in a small
is something
group
that
of
I
people.
would be doing for free.
Yeah,
and I was doing
right.
it for free.
Yeah,
like, for
and you
nothing.
still do. Even I bet you go and you see your family, you're hanging out with them. It's not like you're going to go there and say, no jokes for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Only when you pay. Yeah, you're going to cut up.
personality.
You're going to have fun. I mean, who you are on stage is probably 90% of who you are in real life.
Right,
exactly. I'm sure you amp it up, take it up a couple notches.
Just a little bit, but just
we all do that.
It's real life. Let me ask you guys a question.
Please.
I'm interested in your process. Like, what is your demographic, if you would be able to identify?
Age-wise, you mean? Or
age-wise, or just the people that you feel are your core
Are you going to make a joke or are you being real?
Man, I cannot be real.
I'm like, don't be fucking with him. He's asking you a real question.
White bearded tattooed guys that are alcoholics.
Really?
From what I've seen, like I don't know, but
18 to 50 guys. Mostly
18
guys.
to 50.
Well, I think it's more older than that. I mean, I don't. Now it's funny because almost like
I don't know many 60-year-olds.
Podcasts like things are progressing so quickly. And you'll know this, Chico. It's like if you've seen it.
The chat room's checking in. 31-year-old fat white beard, no alcohol, heavy pot.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of stoners. We're all stoners here.
Oh yeah, me too.
But
okay.
It's almost like
we got medical cards in here like now.
Yeah.
Florida's got that
I'm
now.
a patient.
Florida's got that.
We went to the doctor together yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Really?
We all.
I was
he was stoned. I shouldn't say that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Time out. I don't know if he's the police. He just gave me a ride.
He looks like the police.
We got our cards.
Yeah, my shit's legal.
But
We're in the game.
Let's go smoking the Wilmo.
Can we do that?
You got flour now. She's got flour.
I don't have it.
The reason why I asked that is because you guys you could say that you have a core demographic.
We do. Yeah.
So is it more important to you to appeal to your demographic or to appeal to the demographic that doesn't know that you guys exist? Which is the most important?
We talk about
we talk about like it seems to me, Chico, and tell me if you agree with this, because it seems like you think a lot about this a lot as well.
Please don't call him Chico. Can you call him Mr. Bean?
Oh, okay, sorry.
You don't know him that well.
So it seems to me that like we've progressed to a point where there's so much content out there. And things are so split because now we do a podcast. We started in 2009. There was less podcasts, but now there's 200 million podcasts, and now there's 10,000 things to watch on demand on TV. I mean, like screw cable. We're talking about there's 10. I mean, there's
YouTube,
Netflix, Hulu,
TV,
Amazon, everything. And so now audiences are smaller. It's interesting too because Wildin' Out kind of came around the right time where they still had that. A bigger audience,
it did.
Like, and then it was able to hold and maintain that big audience. And there's a certain shows, but nowadays, like right now, you're hoping for a way smaller audience, and so we're thinking about it like, and we have subscribers that subscribe to the show and stuff. So we primarily just focus towards that and our core group, and almost kind of do the show towards our core group to
we
keep
tried
that
to
core.
bring in new people, but I wouldn't say that the bringing in of new would offset the pleasing of who
The
we
ones that
already
are
have.
there, yeah.
And I think that's where radio,
especially like our BDMs, these guys back here are our founders. These guys actually crowdfunded our entire studio, whether it was the soundproofing, whether it was the custom carpet, chairs, TVs on the wall, stuff like that. I mean, these are the guys.
And I think
those are our guys.
Where radio kind of like, because we came from terrestrial radio, where they went wrong is like you were always taught in the mindset was like, hey, make your show as broad as possible because you may be able to get syndicated. And if you get syndicated, don't talk as much about Orlando, talk about broad topics so everybody can listen.
Syndication is dead.
So then, but everybody got in that mindset and forgot like, hey, you gotta hold your core audience, the people that support you, the people that support your sponsors, the people that actually like email you, text you, like those are the people you need to hold on to, like trying to get these broad audience members that are like this ghost audience out there is stupid now. It's like, hey, keep the core audience, keep them happy, you'll have a successful career forever. As long as you keep your core. As soon as you start trying to like appeal to other people and then like lose your way or kind of like, hey, don't say that, these people are offended, or
but
don't
then
do
you're
this,
changing who you are. And I apologize for interrupting you. I just saw our limo driver. I went to take a photo. He's got a True Leave pop socket on the back of his phone. This guy knows.
Oh, wow.
He knows. You might be high right now. Oh no, probably can't. He's got earbuds.
Medicated.
I'm sorry, medicated.
But how do you think about that, Chico? As far as like, do you believe like audience is getting smaller because everything is so segmented nowadays?
I actually believe that the audience is growing because of how easily the information is accessed now. Like, you just think, I was talking to somebody the other day about just how celebrity has changed. Because to me, all fame is just makes people who don't know you treat you like they've known you forever, and people who've known you forever treat you like they don't know you at all.
Yes.
That's all fame is.
Yeah.
But the idea of what fame is has changed so much, because when I was young, like, I was a Tupac fan. You know what I mean? If I wanted to get in contact with Tupac, I would have had to write a letter, hope to get a response back from the letter, call the number from the letter I got the response to, and then it was just a chain of...
And almost impossible.
Damn
no one ever
impossible.
tried it.
Now, it's, somebody want to get in contact with me, motherfuckers can tell me I'm not funny all day long on my Instagram page.
Yeah. Directly, DM
directly
you.
to you.
You
know what I mean? So just that alone, people's ability to be able to be in contact with people that are celebrity has changed the fact of how celebrity is looked at. So people want to feel like they know you now. They feel like they're a part of your life. When people look at your Instagram, they're following your life. So it's different than, I didn't know what type of breakfast that my favorite artist ate, or what his favorite restaurant was, or what type of shoes he liked to shop and buy. Now people are looking to involve those things with everything that they do. So the audience has so much more to connect with you on now.
True.
Whereas though before, it was, if you was a musician, they had your music and maybe a few interviews you did in magazines or whatever. Now these people, have their pictures on your wall for the, what I mean? That's something that most people would have died to have. The picture on somebody who they're a fan of's wall.
Is that how you approach it? I mean, you got to be big on Instagram. You got to be big on Twitter and stuff like that. I mean, I looked you up on social. You're not hurting for followers.
No, I mean,
how do you handle that?
The thing is, I don't allow that. I mean, I respect it, but I don't allow it to determine the worth that I have within the space that I'm working in, because if tomorrow Instagram turns off, I'm still going to be me outside. And that's the part, and that's the thing. Everything changes. Like, there's going to come a time where Instagram is going to be old. You know what I mean? So if you stake your whole claim in that space, when that space becomes old, where the MySpace celebrities
happened
at
2 weeks ago. They lost, 150,000?
But I'm saying, if Tom could walk in this bitch, you could be Tom from MySpace.
He is Tom. He's our Tom.
That's what I'm saying.
And just as nerdy as that other Tom.
Who knows? Who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows? And that's the thing. Like, I just feel like if you can find a way to, you have to be involved. You have to have a presence on that space. You know what I mean? It'd be ridiculous.
Chat room loves you, by the way.
Oh,
because you're just dropping knowledge bombs.
Yeah, they're like, we can listen to this guy all day.
Kablam.
You have to have a presence on the internet and in that space. It's a necessity.
Yeah.
But you don't have to stake your claim in it. Like, people don't recognize that at one point the Etch-a-Sketch was the iPad. Like, you just was excited to have a fucking, it's gone.
I love my Etch-a-Sketch.
Exactly. So now you have to know, especially like we were just talking about 2013, how technology has moved. At some point, this shit is going to be old. So you have to be able to navigate the space. It's kind of like, kind of going with the flow and not fucking it up.
And knowing when to pivot too, and like we're right,
pivoting, yeah,
right in the middle of a scenario where now all big like radio companies, iHeart and like all the big radio companies, they're realizing that we need to get heavily into podcasting. So like they go out and they're buying all these podcast networks and stuff, and then they're like, we're the biggest podcasters, and then like slam the internet with as many podcasts as possible. And so we're now in a situation where like now these big companies are flooding the internet with podcasts, and we're like, what is going to be the next 10 years? Because we spent 10 years doing this from literally from 2009 to now.
Yeah, our 10-year anniversary was last week. We hit we haven't celebrated
You've been
yet.
doing a podcast for 10 years.
10 years.
And,
wow.
and we're able to get it to a business where we got full-time employees and everything. But now we're looking at like, well, is that going to be the next 10 years, or is it going to be something different? Because we got to be nimble enough to pivot if it is.
Right.
You have to be accepting enough, I think. I mean, I don't think the dynamic of you and I talking to each other.
No.
Comedy. I don't think that'll change. But how do we deliver it? Will the delivery method change?
Right.
Will the studio probably will change? I mean, I don't know. I would eventually think we outgrow this. I mean, we already are a little tight in here.
Because we're doing nothing different than we did in terrestrial radio, except for there was like FCC and
curse a little bit here and there.
But it's still just the dynamic. Me and Daniel trying to make people laugh, talking, interviewing cool people and stuff. And so, but what platform will that be?
Somebody brought it up in the chat room. We're doing it right now. We're live broadcasting right now to people.
On Twitch,
on Twitch. So you have that ability.
Chico, I want to talk to you about like something you mentioned earlier, and then you mentioned a name of a person that got in trouble because of the social media, and I wondered if like companies are now going back before they hire, like say a new person on Wild 'N Out or whatever comes, and then he's really funny or whatever. Do they like?
Do they look at?
Do they go back and look at all their social just to make sure there's nothing hiding back there that could get them in trouble or whatever?
I don't believe so. I believe that you in my mind you could reach it. You look at what's going on with Cardi B right now with the resurfacing of her saying, I used to drug dudes and rob them, and now everybody's so up in arms. I just think that comes with the what I call just the internet morality. You know what I mean? Because like I said, you can express your opinion publicly and privately at the same time. So, we have this cancel culture now and where people like to cancel celebrities for stuff that they've said. But the reality of it is nobody cares until they care. And then when they care, they only care until somebody tells them to care about something else. So it's like,
do they really even care?
No,
Probably.
No, there's no real care.
Can you call me once a week?
Yeah, you think about like,
just leave a message on my, just leave me a voicemail.
R. Kelly, you know what I mean? Like the whole R. Kelly situation, which I'm sure you guys have discussed.
Yeah, I watched the docuseries.
I watched a little bit of it. We're new dads, so a lot of those things, like the new Michael Jackson documentary, we have to avoid a little bit of that. It's a little gross,
It's just the time that we live in because, I'm a huge R. Kelly's music. I love his music.
Me
Fuck
too.
him. I don't know him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've never had a desire to hang around R. Kelly, but his music is amazing. But people say, well, you're supposed to be able to separate you're not supposed to separate in this situation the man from the music. But my question is always, we've watched in the media this man do things clearly that are, like what the fuck? Aaliyah was
good.
15. And,
Not good.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
This happened a while ago. This tape existed for
1994.
And
you know
now
what I'm
we're
saying?
outraged.
And that's the thing, like, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number came out before I Believe I Can Fly. Yet I still sung I Believe I Can Fly at my elementary school graduation.
Yes.
So who is responsible for letting a group of graduating school children sing a song written by a pedophile?
Yeah.
Like, that's the level of outrage that should have happened back then, but in my opinion, the reason why it didn't is because people would have actually had to get up and go be outraged somewhere.
Of course,
yeah.
You
Instead
had to
of
get up
lazy man
and
Yeah.
go
Protest
and stand in
and-
front of Tower Records or wherever you bought CDs from, or stand in front of the concert
Too
and
much
protest.
work, Chico.
But that's work.
Yeah.
No.
That's effort. Now you
God,
can be
you make so much
outraged
sense.
in the living room. Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
I'm with it. But the thing about
Like
it
you're
is,
an online activist.
Yeah,
yeah,
thoughts and
exactly.
prayers. There we go. I've done my job.
right. So, but my question is always, okay, so if you are so outraged by, this man messing with young girls, how many hours have you volunteered at the shelter for abused women in your city? How many of these places have you actually went to the show that you really have something more than just fingertips that work?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fuck, man, you running 2020? You are, right?
Yeah,
Chico, but
You got a couple votes here. I think Sam and I are in.
It took me like 8.5 minutes to create this R. Kelly meme, and I put it out there. It's got 2,200 likes. I've done my job. I'm a hero.
I made a hashtag.
A big hero. And that's the thing. Like people, it's like people are quick to tell you how you're supposed to feel about something and then bash you. Like, cause and it's so crazy the timing of it with the 85 South Show. One of the best things about what we
that's
do,
your podcast, right?
That's me, Carlos, DC.
Yeah, we can find that wherever Apple Podcasts,
YouTube,
Spotify,
podcasts,
YouTube.
everywhere.
Yeah, grab that.
The beauty about what we do is that we're able to, the freedom of podcasting is that FCC regulation kind of goes out the window a little bit. You still have to be mindful of what you say because of the way that things work now. But right before the R. Kelly whole fiasco happened, we were in Chicago at a theater in Chicago, and I basically talked about the situation. I was like, I don't fuck R. Kelly. I don't know R. Kelly.
Yeah.
But when I listen to music for me and what it is that I do. You know what I mean? Like, I did my part by not being a fucking pedophile. Like, I don't have to, I don't have to feel like I'm doing something wrong because of the music that I listen to, because I listen to music of all different types of, genres. I listen to Gucci Mane. He got a song about cutting people's fingers off. Does that mean I don't fucking like fingers? No. You know what I mean?
Or you support cutting fingers off?
Think about my mom. My mom's favorite music is classical music. My mom's an organist, classically trained organist. That's what she does. She plays pipe organ and shit like that. Her favorite composer is Chopin. He's a pianist. Yeah, I bet if you go all the way back and you start looking at those motherfuckers. That's
what I was going to say.
Oh, those wig-wearing motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Those guys
There's
were...
some weird shit going on.
Oh, my God.
Probably doing terrible things, but we just don't know about it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So then we can't be outraged or fake outraged in order to not listen to their music.
A lot of our founding fathers were the worst, and then but
they're on our money.
But that was the reality. Like, I think
they did
Thomas
everything.
Jefferson
Money,
with the
owning slaves,
slave owner, like pedophile,
insanely bad shit.
But the thing is, like, you gotta. That's what the fucking in the 1700s, people were doing back. Like, it's the reality, and as sad as it is to say, like, you go back and and people go back and look at people's tweets. I was talking about like Kevin Hart earlier. You look at some tweet that he tweeted back in 2002 or whatever or 5, and even though it seems like it was like right around the corner, it was a goddamn different culture in the United States and like at a different time, and like. And for us to start playing judge, jury, and then you don't even get a jury really. It's just you did this. This means
it's
you're
really
this.
Judge and then executed.
And because you said this 10 years ago, that means you're a bigot or racist or whatever it is. And we're taking now what were current day social norms and then applying them to 10 years ago. It's ridiculous. And I wonder when the pivot starts going back, because there will be a point where we're tired of it and we're like, fuck all this. And
I think we're kind of there.
I don't think so.
I don't think
you don't
so.
think it's going to go further?
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't think we're there yet, because I was just watching an interview the other day from when Mike Tyson and Mitch Green had got into it, when Mike Tyson had knocked Mitch Green out.
Yeah.
And Mitch Green did an interview with, I think it was like 60 Minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And and the stuff that he said on the interview, I'm looking like, there's no way that you can do this interview today.
Oh, yeah.
Like the stuff he was calling Mike on screen. This was regular television.
yeah. 60 Minutes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? This is regular television. Just the way that the necessity that we have to be offended by something, like the meaning and the purpose that the internet has given people.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm 30, so I grew up in a time where outside was, we loved to go outside. Like, I would take an ass whooping to go outside.
Yeah. You just wanted to go play.
But exactly, you just wanted to be outside. But you think about the act of being outside, everything was in person. If I called you ugly, I said it to you.
Yeah.
If I threw something at you and hit you, you saw me do it. You know what I mean? Like, if I liked a girl, she lived in my neighborhood or up the street from me or somewhere in close proximity. Now you have the ability to be in love with somebody that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
Hate somebody that you've never met. You know what I mean? And be able to have an opinion about stuff and have it mean something if somebody catches it and retweets it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the act of actually being a person that has purpose and meaningful, just stance about your life has become just damn near impossible. That's why I don't think we're close to the end.
Because there's a lack of involvement there. I
Because
get
there
what you're
is
saying.
no involvement. In order for us to get back to, the time where you can, just really judge people off their character, you would have to really be amongst people.
Yeah.
We're not going back towards that. We're moving further and further into never fucking seeing another
Right.
human being.
Yeah. I'm getting my groceries shipped to me.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go to the grocery store. You can just order anything on
It's
Amazon.
the Wall-E scenario. We'll all be
Yeah.
big fat blobs looking at a TV, just going over, like, being mesmerized by this virtual world.
Right.
It's like it's almost you see ourselves heading that way. And Chico, do you have any kids?
I have a daughter,
Okay.
10-year-old daughter.
Oh, 10-year-old. Okay,
Congrats.
that's interesting
Yeah,
because
I got
was
a
gonna,
3-year-old daughter.
I'm going to ask you.
She came on a period on my birthday.
Oh,
What?
Yeah.
Chico.
Yeah.
I got 2 sons, so I don't
I'm
have to
worried
deal with
about that. This guy makes fun of me all the time because I'm all. We're all. At least right now, we're all in princesses and mermaids.
But
thankfully,
my sons are about to turn 4 and 5, and I've really been thinking about this lately, like how I'm ill prepared to teach them how to handle our new society, because I didn't grow up
not new to
like
them.
this.
it's how they'll grow up.
Yeah, and how to navigate the internet, or how to handle social media, and how to handle that connectiveness with everybody. Although it's fake, a lot of it is how to talk to someone in person. I mean, I've talked to people that have talked to young, people in their mid-20s that grew up on the internet and social media, and said how they speak to me on text is completely different than how they talk to me in person. In person, they're very meek and shy and not outgoing. And text, they're funny, they're outgoing, a lot of emojis, all this personality.
It goes back to what Chico's saying about
holy shit.
They haven't been
no social skills.
They haven't been doing the reps of actually, like he said,
talking in person.
Think about the number of people that I know right now that are younger that can't ask a girl out or ask a guy out on a date, or even express that they like them.
Right, or look at the way that it's debilitated us, like people who are old enough to remember when you had to remember people's phone numbers by heart. How many phone numbers do you know by
Perfect
heart?
example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't even know my wife's,
I don't
man,
know
and
how
she
to
makes
get
fun of me.
anywhere. Like, you ever been in your car and talk shit to the GPS? All right, goddammit, I got it. Like, without that same person, you wouldn't know where the fuck you was going. We're disrespectful. Like, we've gotten to a point where we don't even have an appreciation for everything that you know, everything that I learned in school is in my fucking phone now.
Yeah.
Like, if I would have had an iPhone when I was in high school, I'd have been the smartest motherfucker on the planet.
Yeah, because you have all the information.
You have all the information there. So, like, it's just, it's a movie called Network. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the movie called, it's a movie called Network. And Network is it was made in the 70s, which makes it so cool.
Is this the one about the news station?
Yes, about the news station.
I know that movie.
Where he basically explains what's going on now, what you're seeing now. Of course, it was in different, context, but the reality of the
concept.
the
media
concept,
manipulation.
Yeah, it's like we're all, we are the real power, but my uncle told me one time, he said, when I was young, I used to think that they was going to make robots. He said they didn't. They just took his phone out and said they turned us into them. This is your battery. Like, this is all of our battery.
That's where you got it from. Your uncle's smart.
Yeah, this is all of our battery. Like, you ever, looked at your phone and it's about to die? You're like, oh, fuck, I could get the charger. Because your whole lifeline is attached to your phone now. It does everything. It's your bank. It's your calculator.
It's your navigator.
It's
Most
still
people-
a phone.
It's how I talk to my wife, and I don't know her number. You're right. You're right.
Most people, if they're driving around and their phone died, they would be lost. Like, what would you
I
do?
would be
I
lost.
would be.
You couldn't.
Yeah.
You're like,
I would be low. I'm born and raised in Washington, D.C. My whole life I lived there until I went to college. And there's still times when I go home and have to GPS places that I would that I knew like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
And I would, I remember one time, like kind of what you was talking about in raising your children. One thing that I try to give my daughter is those elements. I don't try to force them on her because I know she's not going to ever have the same intensity of learning how to get somewhere that I did when I was finally able to go somewhere by myself.
Because that's just reality.
Yeah, it's just the reality. But I still want her to have certain elements, like we'll go somewhere and I'll, make her remember how to get back home and make her give me directions of how to get back home, just so she can still develop some type of sense of direction about herself.
You're right.
But the reality is like, we don't have to have those skill sets anymore. Like, that part of us, whatever that part of us was as human beings, is dead.
I know. Yeah, it's scary because
it is scary.
Because think about it, like it's just, like human beings have evolved like hundreds of thousands of years to where we are, but the past like 500 years, we're the same humans that were the humans 200 years ago, but now you've given us basically another brain that has all the information that we're relying on. So we're almost de-evolving our brains to then rely on this, and we can't find where we want to go.
But this brain is controlled by companies that control the messages going to the brain.
It is almost a weird, I'm getting more and more like an old man.
I like the idea of Chico gets his limo, he drives away, and then we start just tearing the fuck out of the studio. I'm tearing the TVs off the wall, throwing my phone in the
what
trash.
you gonna do? That's my mentality about it. With all the things that we're discussing.
Yeah,
now,
what are we supposed to do?
What are you gonna do?
But
shut the fuck up and use your phone.
You're
stop acting like you're not, unless you're gonna live off the grid. And who's gonna do that?
We're doing that on Monday. We got a guy here in town who lives in a tiny house off the grid. He doesn't have a phone, right? He has just email.
Yeah.
He only has email. But this is his way.
Well, he's not off the grid.
He's an activist.
That's what I said.
No, he's not. He's not fully off the grid.
Nobody's fully off the
He's
grid.
He's as much as he can be without, I think, dying.
Well, this is how I knew that technology took over. It's a true story. I was in Los Angeles walking up and down Hollywood Boulevard. And I'm a weirdo. I embrace it. I don't like to go to the club or none of that goofy shit. That's goofy to me. I'd rather just cruise and drive and listen to music and kind of meditate or walk and listen to my music. This guy, homeless guy, I'm talking about, have you ever been to LA and seen Hollywood Boulevard, how they kind of have they set up, right? So this guy was, stopped me and was like, "Hey, brother, you got any change?" You know what I mean? And I'm like, "Man, I think I got a couple dollars, man." And he was like, "Man, what you doing walking out here, man?" I'm like, "I'm just, walking, I'm staying at the hotel." He said, "Hold on 1 second. Hello?" I said, "Oh, shit, you got a cell phone?" He was like, "Yeah, man, I got to have one."
The homeless guy
You don't have to have a house.
Yeah.
But you got to have a cell phone.
How's it paying the bill?
I mean, and that's the reality. That part of the society. I'm sure that most people, anybody who doesn't have a phone, I can't imagine what their life looks. That's a movie.
It's crazy.
Who is the person out here who doesn't have a cell phone, doesn't have email, and lives in any type of capacity that is, conducive to the way that we see the world now.
Sure.
And it's worldwide too. You'll see videos.
I mean, our business is based around people's phones, by the way.
You're right. I know.
Fucking people lose their phones, and we can't provide for our family.
You'll see some video of some guy shooting a 50 cal machine gun from a old Toyota 1980s truck that they welded the machine gun tripod, and they're shooting it, and they're like, "What the fuck is that guy texting in the back? He's on a smartphone texting behind the machine gun." You're like, "Whoa, shit!"
It's just so prevalent.
Someplace in the Middle East, like a hellhole, and they got everybody's got smartphones.
And it's amazing. I went to Egypt. When I went to Egypt,
how was that, man?
It was amazing.
Did you go see the pyramids and do all the
this is the reason why I wear these things on my head. A lot of people think that it is the Nick Cannon shit. Nick wears these sometimes, but I wear them after I went to Egypt and kind of found out the meaning behind
what is the meaning if you don't want to ask?
It's just basically,
I think it's cool.
It's just basically just basically a crown for your thoughts and your process. Is just kind of the way that you consume the energy that the world gives you. Like the pyramids and everything, just the background and the stories that I got about those were amazing. Just how they were built and how many of them there were before just over time just ravaged them and people coming in tearing them down and everything. But one of the things that blew my mind is when we did this little ATV ride where we went through the pyramids and got to take pictures and stuff, and all of the kids and I'm like this dilapidated village, they were coming up to me, touching my skin like, yeah, and rapping songs. And I'm like, how the hell did you guys, y'all don't have, how do you know
the
this
desert,
stuff? How do you know this stuff? And it's the internet, man. It's the cell phone. They all had little phones with, their ability to be able to watch YouTube and stuff. Like I go all over the world and people know who I am and recognize me. Like, yeah, man, we don't have the show. Guy from France came up to me like, man, I love your show. We don't have it on TV out there, but we watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So just the access of being able
nuts,
to,
man.
It's crazy. It's just crazy, and it's not going to shrink. It's going to expand. So I can't even put into my mind what the next thing is going to be as far as how you consume information. But I think the thing, I personally have a theory that the shit that's going to make us old men is when our kids are grown and they have grandchildren, if we're blessed enough to live that long, it's going to be the fucking teleportation system. Like, I can't go see my fucking granddad. He won't put a teleporter in his house. He's scared of him. Like, it's far-fetched, but it's not really when you think
it's
about
not far-fetched.
And when you think about explaining a cell phone to somebody in 1975.
Yeah, 100%. And
well,
you're right.
Already, I mean, even based on what you're saying, we're already just something as simple as a text message. When you compare it to years ago, writing a letter and having to write a letter and put it in traditional U.S. mail. And that wasn't that long ago, guys. So take first text message. All we're doing now is teleporting our thoughts to the person instantly, right? It's not that far-fetched.
It really is.
You know, if we can do it with thoughts and we can do it, and remember, it started with text, and then it went to pictures. Now we're at video.
Yeah.
You know, now we're at live stream, where I can sit there and use FaceTime to talk to my wife, talk to my
Go
daughter.
live,
When
right.
I'm in, Atlanta or someplace,
I'm here
I'm
right
on a
now.
cruise, I'm talking to my wife in the Caribbean on a phone. You were doing it the whole cruise.
Yeah.
We're not, it's not far-fetched at all to think you could just beam yourself across
20 years ago, somebody sitting explaining what you're saying
Right.
to you. Like, man, what the fuck is
Yeah.
you smoking?
Yeah.
What did you get on your medical marijuana? God, I need some of that.
Yeah,
I think I need that on your head to keep my thoughts in. You're a smart cat,
Well,
man. I've loved having you in here.
Chico, what about like how do you teach your daughter about how to navigate this? I mean, does she have a phone?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And how
Yes.
what
You
was
said
that?
she's 10?
What was that
Yes.
decision process? Because I'm sure you probably gave it a lot of thought. Or like, do I give my daughter a phone at this age? And kind of because it's a big responsibility. Now you have access. I mean, there's parental guides and stuff, but listen, kids,
No.
the kids know how to. It's a joke to think of. Like, I put the parental guide, and my sons will never go to play.
Right.
And instantly, their friend has told us how to hack that, and I don't know because I'm an old man already. So, how do you make that decision? Like, when to give your daughter the phone, and what to tell her, how to be responsible with that?
Well, one of the things for me that helps me, this is just my mentality about fathering. Like, I look at myself at her age, and like, one, they couldn't have had social media when I was a little boy.
Yeah.
About like fucking jail.
yeah,
Immediately.
yeah.
Like prison. But what I understand is that, I ask people this all the time, like, how old were you when you start cursing?
God, probably I'd say maybe 12, 11
How
or
old
12.
were you when your parents found out you cursed?
About the same age, because I told my dad to fuck off, and that's the story.
Boy,
He tore the
white privilege.
No, but he old schooled it on me. He tore the door. He punched through the door, unlocked it, pushed it off the hinges. I was laying on my bed thinking I was big dicking him, and he came in there and he grabbed me by the throat and he said, quietly, "Don't you ever talk to me like that again. That's coming out of your allowance, and now we're going to Home Depot to get a new door."
Oh,
Very
damn.
calm,
That is Jack Nicholson from the Shine.
No, he's a little guy like me, just a pissed off little guy,
But,
mad.
like for you, when did you start cursing, using
Yeah,
curse words?
it was probably around that, 10, 11.
10, 11.
Yeah.
But when did your parents find out that you cursed?
Much
Much later.
Yeah.
So you just think about how you were able to conceal that aspect
Right.
Hold it
from
back
them
in,
for
sure.
however long you did. It's no different now, but the access of what they're able to see is expound upon greatly. So what I just try to do is just try to make sure that my daughter has a relationship with me and her mom, that she doesn't feel like she needs to hide anything major. Because you're a child, you're going to hide certain things.
Yeah.
But I want to be cool enough to her to where if she's confused about something in the age of opinions, that she's able to come to me and let me take the burden of that. So, because that's my biggest thing to navigate now. The biggest problem and issue in the world to me is opinions now. It's not, a lot of people say money is the root of all evil and all of that. Attention and opinions are now. Because people are doing, it's the give and take of both. So I know that it's different now because she can be influenced by people on her Instagram feed, or if she doesn't have an Instagram, but whatever little social site that they use, Musically or whatever the little kids
Oh,
are
that's
into.
huge. Yeah,
Huge
yeah.
amongst small
Yeah.
kids. Somebody can just be calling her ugly every single day, and she
Yeah.
could be being affected by that.
Sure.
And I have no idea, and she could be concealing that. So what my job is to make sure that the things that she's going to be exposed
to,
to and have to endure from a part of the world that I didn't have to endure as a child growing up, I want her to be able to come to me and talk to me about those things, whether it be confusion, madness, or whatever, because there's no way to stop her from being a part of it. Because even if you don't give your child a phone, when they go to school, every parent, you got to think about the in-depth nature of how parenting works. You and your family may say, oh, no, just 10 years old is too young to have a phone. I can't do it. But when you go to school amongst the, it's 14, 15 kids in the class.
Phone.
So whatever it is you're trying to conceal from them, they're going to see on their friend's phone. So they're going to come home with the same veracity that they had as if they seen it sitting in their own room. So it's like the quicker you figure out how to navigate your child with the phone, like who is your child with this device.
Yeah.
Because they have their own personalities and they're going to develop into whatever it is they're going to develop into. But I just think it's easier for me to navigate her having one if I introduce it to her and kind of make her understand that no matter what's coming out of here, baby, this is what's real. Like what we're doing is what's real.
That's probably the most mature way to handle parenting in this day and age, because you're right. Trying to shield them from the inevitable seems ridiculous and seems futile. Like you're like, oh, I'm gonna shield her from the internet or shield my kids from the internet until they're old enough to appreciate it. You're like,
well,
what world do you think you live in?
But it's already there. I mean, think about it. Where are textbooks? They're gone. What are they replaced with? iPads. That's and that's standard issue from the state. From the teachers, whatever, even especially at the most expensive schools.
Books are stupid.
Like that's the thing. How do you learn now? Like I couldn't. Like I don't know how to do math. Right? I'm fucking horrible.
I'm the worst at it too.
At math, like that shit was put here to fuck with me. Like I believe that, but
we got computers. Why do you even need to learn?
What do you need to like? Think about the test of trying to make someone learn when all of the shit that you can learn is available to you. You ask any question at all. No matter what the question is, what is the square root of whatever the fuck? Siri, what is the square root of whatever the fuck?
Yeah. Exactly.
There it is.
And Chico, you're right in the fact that, and then I hate the argument when someone says, yeah, well, like, I understand your phone can do it all, but what if we have no phones? What are you going to do then? I'm like, that means
you know what?
Well, that means we're in the apocalypse. I'm going to be fucking.
And I'm not going to be doing fucking math.
I'm going to be stabbing someone for a banana. Like,
you know how I would answer that question? Siri, what would I do if we didn't have any phones? That's how I would answer that question. Like it's no way of being able to navigate it. So that's why I feel like teaching the opinions and how to deal with opinions, like learning who you are. Like my thing with my daughter, I don't give a fuck if she wants to be a rodeo clown. I don't care what she grows up to want to be.
Yeah.
As long as she is figuring out what she wants to be based off of her own emotion and the guidance that I'm going to give her between me and her mom. But as long as she accepts and loves who she is as a person, which is so difficult to do today. Yeah. Like that's the hardest job we have is going to school. If I can't imagine being in school now with all of these different ways to get opinions, because when I was in middle school, like my middle school was like a juvenile detention center. Like we was wild. But I only knew what was going on in McFarland Middle School. Yeah. You mean to tell me if we was in McFarland, I could have looked on my phone and seen what the motherfuckers at Paul was doing, which is the school up the street? Nigga, we up there. We on our way up there. They popping up there. We gonna go do this. So it's like I can't imagine what that pressure is like. So I know that the one thing that stays consistent, no matter the fact that this has developed the world so much, is that opinions and attention are the exact same. You just get it from a different source now, but how it makes you feel is the exact same. So if you can navigate how they affect you as a human being, then you'll be all right.
That's a real good place to end. But also, I just thought, like, you're right. If we had all this technology back when we were in high school, like I remember
it wouldn't have been good for me.
Well, if you were in high school, like you could only compare yourself to the coolest kid in your high school. So say you got like I went to high school in Miami, but it's like, oh, this kid and this girl is like the prom king, prom queen. They're the coolest kids, and like I wish I could be. Now you're comparing yourself to the coolest kid in the goddamn world. Like you know what I'm saying? On all the high schools together.
No. Not the coolest kid in the world. All of the coolest kids in the world.
Yeah.
Because there's more than one.
Yeah. Like so your high school is tiny compared to what kids now.
On every level, too. Like on every level. I remember when my daughter was like 4, we were watching YouTube, and she was showing me this other 4-year-old child who just sat and opened fucking toys all day. That's all
what the kids are into.
Like she just sat and watched this child open. I'm like, damn. 4-year-olds have people to look up to now. That's 4 years old. Like so
peers,
now you're competing as a parent with another 4-year-old for your child's attention.
And they probably didn't even know what that was. You
Exactly.
know? Like, what do you mean opening up toys? They at that point they can't even register like how the toys are being bought, how they're being purchased, who's bringing them in. Yeah,
but they have the attention. Like so, it's like you're competing now with every level of your child's life. You're competing with the attention of just the world, and now the world that's coming out of here.
You're right.
So you have to. It's a difference.
I'm guilty of it in the fact that I'm like my wife was like, "Hey, Tommy, my 4-year-old, he learned all his ABCs today. Like all he could say it from A all the way to Z. You know, I'm like, and then I'm looking on Facebook. I'm like, this 4-year-old's playing drums in a goddamn band. Maybe you gotta step your game up.
Right.
Like,
Not
like,
fair.
I'm not even impressed with my own
It's an
sons.
unfair comparison.
Yeah.
And instead of
this
spending
4-year-old's
the
playing
time,
Mozart.
well, instead of spending the time to be with your kid and just enjoy what you have, like we said, be in the moment, be
Being
actual,
proud
be
that
real.
your kid that's not even in
You're-
kindergarten yet learned his
Consent.
alphabet.
And then that
ABCs.
comes back to comparison. It
Yeah,
comes back to
exactly.
just
To the
instead of being the
opinion.
best Tom and Tommy.
God,
And
he's changing our
attention.
lives.
Yeah, that's it.
Man,
Learn
you
how
need
to
a daytime
navigate.
talk.
Stay
Yo,
here.
you need a nighttime talk show.
Hey,
Check
man,
everybody should
I'm
check
working on
out
it.
your podcast, 85
Yes,
South
85
Show.
South Show, man. At 85 South Show on YouTube.
Dig it.
You know, all the podcast apps, Apple Music, all of that good stuff. We're
So
all
subscribe.
on there. Wildin' Out is still coming on. Got a bunch of stuff. I just actually got the opportunity to shoot a commercial with Nike and Foot Locker, which is awesome.
Damn.
You know what I mean? You can go
Get
check
that
that
swoosh
out
money.
on my Instagram and, just, doing a whole bunch of cool stuff, man. But I will be at the Orlando Improv tonight and tomorrow night. So Orlando, man, come out. This was actually very fun,
Man,
man.
I want to get a babysitter
like-
now and come see you.
Yeah,
'cause-
man.
Yeah.
Like this is going to be a fun show, man. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a good time.
Hey,
But-
thanks for giving us the time, man.
Thank you for having
We
me,
appreciate
man.
it.
I would
know
love to
everybody
come
here.
back, man.
Everybody
Yeah,
here
and-
was inspired. The chat room is flipping out about you. They love you, guys. Buy the tickets and show them that you care.
Yeah, come on out, man, and check me out.
And anytime you're in Orlando, please come by and hang out.
Or
definitely,
just
man.
call the show. I mean, if
yeah.
you're just doing something in D.C., I love D.C. I got really good
Oh,
friends
I live
there.
in North Carolina now.
You live in North
I live
Carolina?
in Winston-Salem, North
Oh,
Carolina.
that's a nice spot,
Like,
too.
And that's the thing when I started my career. Like you have those opinions of what you're supposed to do, or you got to move to L.A., you got to move to New York.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Like I always have, I lost my father young. My father was murdered when I was 2 years old.
Oh, no
so,
shit.
So, one of the first things I had to learn how to do was accept death. You know what I mean? And I didn't come from a family I come from a very unique family. Like most of my people are maniacs. But I respect and love the way that they taught me how to be me, because they was like, hey, this is your reality.
They did a good job.
Deal with it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I was always able to make decisions. Even though I've made mistakes, I've always been able to make decisions kind of based in who I am. And I knew that me going back home to D.C. would have been a problem because I knew too many people. And failure is different when it's coming from people you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's different when some strange person be like, you got, your car fucked up. But when your mom is like, baby, your car. You know it's not coming from a place of malice. It's coming from a place of like, I feel bad for you, and that affects you differently.
Yeah.
It does.
And I didn't want to move to New York and be poor and struggling up there and have to involve myself, or go to L.A. and have to live like that. So I said-
Winston-Salem's gorgeous.
But that's the thing. I said, I'm going to stay here where I don't know anybody. The elements are still the same. I don't know anybody. I'm just starting. And if I can build a following in the town where nobody's coming to be, a haven for stand-up comedy and to be looking for talent, if I can get people here to care about me, then when I go to the places that are known to do that and known for that, it'll be way easier for me because I've already figured out how to make that connection, especially in a place where that connection is not even known to be made. So when I go to these places where people are looking for you to have these skills, I've built a skill set in a place where I've had to navigate it in a way that most people never even try. So when I go to New York and LA and have to have these conversations, it's like, wow, like, how did you know that? Because I had to talk to a dude who worked at Walmart who doesn't give a fuck about comedy and try to make him come see me at an open mic night.
Yeah.
So the fact that you care now and I have a name, it's much easier for me to get you to give a fuck about me because I've already made the guy who really has a reason to spend his money care about me.
It's
Yeah,
swimming with
absolutely,
weights
man.
on, man.
Genius,
You're
man.
swimming with weights on. That way
Exactly.
you take the weights off, you're flying.
Flying,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
I love it.
Well,
I love
it
it.
is, man.
Well,
This is dope, man. You guys have a dope show.
Well, thank you,
Hey,
man.
And I just want to let you know again, you are the shit. No
Thank
pun
you.
intended.
Yeah, she is.
But you are
I
the
feel
shit.
great about
You are
myself
amazing.
now. I really do. I am inspired as well.
Yeah, I am inspired, man.
Yeah.
Thanks again for the time. Guys, we'll see you on the Friday Free Show.
Yep.
Anything else to plug?
No, theimprovorlando.com. Get your tickets.
Yes. See you soon, Orlando.